Welcome back to the Tailosive Space Podcast. This evening, I'm joined by your illustrious co-host, Mr. DJ. How are you doing on this wonderful episode of Tailosive Space Podcast SN11?
That's a mouthful.
12.
12.
We're on 12. Uh-oh.
Yes. Oh. I'm doing great, Nick. How about you?
I'm doing fantabulous. You know, I had a really great week, mostly because we got to see my favorite rocket fly again and come back down again in one piece. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm talking about Starlink 17 because that poor rocket was not leaving the pad for the past almost a month.
No, it was not.
It was
delay after delay after delay. 18 and 19 went up before it went up. Finally, we seem like we're back on track.
I was really worried, though, for a little while, because if we had Starlink 20 or 21, which are both coming up this week, go up before 17, I'd have been like, yeah, SpaceX, not good. It kind of makes me wonder,
bro.
I know, right? Kind of makes me wonder if SpaceX is going to try to reuse the BN-59, I believe, the Booster 59 that was on the 17 mission.
Yes.
Starlink 17 again. Do you know if they're planning on it, or at what point are they okay, you've flown 9 times, you're good?
I don't know. Wait, how many times did that one fly?
I think it was at 8. It was a fleet leader.
Oh, I'm gonna look at that real quick. I didn't realize it was that many on that one. But
so let's see here.
It finally got up there. It just took it ages.
BN 49. Oh, 49.
Second 8th flight. So
okay,
it's an 8th flight. Yeah,
right,
it's
cool.
It's an 8th flight booster so far. So it's tied with.
Sorry, I incremented
the
one
other
too
one.
many.
But
at what point though do you think they're going to be because this one had how many weeks of delays? I'm sure a lot of those delays had to do. I'm sure a lot of those delays had to do with it being an old booster.
Probably.
Okay, ground gremlins are a thing, but it's been a long time since we've seen Falcon 9 sit on the pad for almost a month.
Yeah.
Working through issues.
I don't know. They're definitely going to push for 10. They're going to look it over very well since it had so many problems on the pad. But I would imagine if there's nothing major they see with it, they're just going to keep using it for Starlink launches. Because, what's one Starlink launch that if it were to really mess
My internet connection. That's what it is, TJ.
60 satellites out of the thousands that they're launching, I think we'll be okay if one goes down.
I don't think so, man. I need that Starlink fast. Oh my. Well, so congratulations to SpaceX for getting SN17 up. Took them long enough. Hopefully that booster can go again. Hopefully it has the opportunity to. But would also not be opposed, seeing how there are only, I believe, 2 Falcon 9s on display right now in the world. I wouldn't be opposed to having more history type Falcon 9s where they're because I think in the next couple of years, once Starship gets going, Falcon 9 is going to pretty much stop production, right? And so they only have a limited number of these. We're seeing the waning year. We're probably seeing the golden age of Falcon 9 right now. And I would love to see SpaceX kind of put more Falcon 9s across the world for people to go visit. I know they have the one in Hawthorne, the first one that landed. It's impressive to see. I've stood there and looked up at it. It's huge.
I really want to go look at that. Just stand.
Highly recommend.
I don't think I've ever actually stood beside a rocket of any type, unless there was one at that space center down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, the one where they've been doing the green runs for SLS.
I don't know SLS. Yeah, I don't know if they have a.
I can't remember. It's been a while since I was down there, but I've never just stood by one and looked up and see how massive they are. I've stood next to a building of the same height, but that's just not the same.
Right? You kind of can't appreciate that. Yeah, I would as a space enthusiast, there's nothing that gets kids more excited than seeing a rocket up close and personal. No. The Johnson Space Center down in Texas, the Space Center Houston commercial complex right next door does have a mock orbiter along with the 747 transporter for the STS space transport missions, the space shuttle. That's really cool. They also have a whole Saturn V rocket inside of a shed basically, and it's pretty impressive to be able to get within a couple socially distanced feet from a rocket and be able to like appreciate the scale, because we do lose the scale quite often during rocket launches because we there are no people anywhere around, right? They get everybody away, so it's just hard to maintain that scale.
I mean, about the only time that we get a true sense of scale for Falcon 9 is, we have 39A, and we know how like tall that is because we've seen people on it and around it, comparing how high it is, how high the launch structure is to a person, and then looking at the rocket, or even just seeing the arm swing over for the crew arm swing over. I mean, that's about 7.5, 8 foot tall for the arm itself, and it still looks just tiny compared to the actual rocket.
Yeah. Or when we have the people folding the legs up on the drone ships after launches.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's probably the best sense of scale that I see.
I mean, those pistons are about the size of a person wide.
Golly, they are huge. Yeah, so I'm all in favor of SpaceX saying, hey, this booster's made it 8 times. There's a decent enough chance we could set it up for a 9th or 10th time, but like also it might explode and lose the payload. So, it also might take a month to do so, worth of ground gremlins kind of holding up the ground systems. So maybe it's just worth it to donate it to a museum or something, because I really, there are only 2 Saturn V's that are currently on display that aren't in pieces. There's the one in Florida and the one in Houston, Texas. And it's kind of sad that we don't have more of those. And obviously they're huge rockets, so maybe it's good that we didn't waste too much money building extra ones. Yeah. But at least with the Falcon 9, there's so many of them, and they're reusable, right? So each one of these rockets could basically have a mini museum worth of information about each one of their launches and payloads and interesting things.
I think they'll probably do one of those at its 10th launch or after its 10th launch. I don't think they're going to want to put one into a museum until they've hit their magic number that they've been wanting to hit. Okay. So I still think they will just look it over, replace whatever they need to replace, and still fly it again. I don't think it's going to be one of those. It's just we don't ever hear from again. So, especially with it being an 8th flight booster, it's so close. I mean, it's only the second one that they've got that's 8th flight. So they want to keep their numbers up. Of course, they're going to be coming up and getting some boosters with more numbers as well, because we have Starlink 20 and 21 coming up. Both of which I believe are going to be 6th flight boosters after this.
Very nice.
Starlink 20 is, it's going to be the 4th, 6th flight booster. Can't say anything about 21 yet because there's nothing on pre-launch previews, which, of course, is our home for finding out about launches.
Yeah. Tim Dodd definitely has put together quite the website with great resources for us space enthusiasts. So Starlink 20 and 21, we were looking, and there wasn't anything super interesting about either of those launches. So, and it's kind of exciting that we get to say that a company loading up a cylinder full of highly pressurized cold gas and cold liquid oxygen and RP1, and lighting a match underneath it and having it fly hundreds of miles into the air at speeds that cannot be compared to anything on Earth, and then landing on a tiny little postage stamp drone ship in the middle of the ocean. I love that we can now call that regular. That is so exciting and boring. It's so exciting that we can call it boring. Starlink 20 and 21 are going to be boring launches, which is a good thing. Keep it up, SpaceX. I know some other creators say nominal. I say keep it boring, Elon. Keep it boring. And I'm not talking about the Boring Company.
But let's knock on wood for that, because we don't want another month and a half of delays or a blow up.
Yeah, nothing ever blows up at SpaceX. Last I checked, every single thing they make never blows up.
Yeah, I mean, because even SN10 didn't blow up, right? It had a successful launch and landing.
See, I wasn't able to watch SN10 live, and this is the first time that I haven't been able to watch a Starship test ever live. I am even back to the original Starhopper. I spent 2 whole days watching the Starhopper, waiting for that first Raptor flight, and yeah. So this one, I was all ready for it. I had my schedule completely cleared the entire day. And so I was sitting there with my popcorn and my blanket. And I was like, oh, we're going to do this. Yay. And then we had the hold a few minutes into the countdown. And about 40 minutes, I guess, into the countdown.
Well, no. It was like had point.
Yeah,
wait,
there
no,
were two holds, though.
wait.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one.
There was a range what do they call this?
Range violation. Yeah,
range
see,
violation.
I was watching it so long that day, I completely forgot about that one.
Yeah, me too. But that was kind of, I was like, oh, okay, I better find something else productive to do with my day. These things sometimes don't go off when they say they are. All right. So I was doing other stuff that day, and we were working up towards our T0. And, then we got to that 0.1 second or whatever for the countdown.
That just sucks to see. I like, if one ever happens where it's literally 0-0, I'm going to just like, why?
Or +1.
Just
no.
It's just still holding it there and like, well, nope, never mind.
Shut down. So yeah, unfortunately, the reason why they had to have that hold, it was an automated hold that was called by the flight computer. It was because one of the Raptors was producing thrust that was out of range. It was too high thrust, basically. And so an automated system kicked in and said, hey, this is a larger than expected value. We need to shut down. And so they aborted the whole thing. And so within like 5 or 6 minutes, they had figured out exactly what went wrong. And they figured out that it actually wouldn't have been an issue. Yeah. They were just kind of being overprotective with their test. And so I was pretty shocked because as soon as I saw that it was hold, I was like, all right, well, that was fun for today. Let's go find something else to do, because it takes them a long time to reset these. Like the reason why,
and that was already like 5 hours into the day so far. It was somewhere around like what?
It was about 2 or 3 or so.
3 o'clock.
Yeah, I think it was about 2 o'clock. And the reason why it takes them until 2 o'clock is because they start, at 6 in the morning with all these prep tests that have to checklists and pressurizing tanks and getting the fuel farm ready and all that stuff. So it's a big process leading up to this 2 o'clock launch time, which is, I think all of the SN tests have been around 2 o'clock, plus or minus a few minutes. And so I was like, all right, I guess we're done for today. Oh, well, better luck next week. And so who's that guy who talks? John, someone or other? The guy with this voice. Who's
I'm going to find out his name real quick, because that's just going to keep bothering me.
I love him. He's my favorite. He's my favorite launch commentator. But anyway, he was like, well, the team's evaluating a possibility for a secondary launch window this afternoon. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. And I had plans that evening, unfortunately.
John Insprucker. There we go.
John Insprucker, the best announcer ever. ULA, you need to hire him. NASA,
no.
Everybody needs to
Don't
get
hire
John
him. Keep
Insprucker.
him at SpaceX.
No. His sole job needs to be announcing launches for all of the world's launches. That needs to be his sole job now.
Well, you remember one of the women that hosted went to, I think it was Blue Origin a while back.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I was wondering why I haven't seen her in a while.
Yeah, the other one, one of the most common women to host it. I believe it was Blue Origin that she went to. But we also have to remember these hosts are not just hosts; they actually work on the rockets every day, either systems, flight engineers, or everything else like that. So these aren't just on-screen talent. Which, of course, SpaceX. If you ever decide to just do on-screen talent, hit me up.
Hey, hit me up too, because I don't know. I let's say it publicly. Why not? Because we gotta flex a little on the Taylors of Space podcast, and only like 80 people ever watch these shows, so no one's ever gonna hear about this. But SpaceX DM'd me the other day, and that was kind of cool. So SpaceX, thanks for reaching out. And if you want to reach out and additional things like getting DJ and I on board with your production team, let us know. We're down for it.
We're camera nerds. We like to talk about space. What else do you need? I mean, I'll totally sit behind a video.
Have you seen the studio? DJ is literally building out video equipment for professionals professionally. So I don't understand why you haven't talked to us yet, SpaceX, because this is an amazing opportunity for you. We're so well qualified. You have no idea.
Our qualifications can literally fit on a Post-it note.
I know. It says 2 20-year-olds recording in their bedrooms. Couldn't be more qualified. Yeah, so SpaceX actually sent the Talos of Space Twitter a DM, and it was on a post that actually Drew had made. Drew was watching a SpaceX launch on Starlink, and so he was watching a Starlink launch on Starlink. Because Drew has Starlink. Let us not forget how sad that is that I don't have Starlink.
Drew, we envy you.
We envy you a lot, Drew. Anyway, Drew tweeted out a picture of him watching a Starlink launch on Starlink, and SpaceX DM'd the Talos of Space Twitter account. And let's just say when I saw the notification of DM from @SpaceX, my jaw hit the floor. I was like,
it's like, this is real, right?
Yeah, and the social media account @SpaceX reached out to us, and we had like a little back and forth, and that was kind of cool. Basically, they wanted to use that picture in a future launch stream. So it's fun to see that SpaceX, at least their video team, this is just another media event. So
That's
good on
cool.
you, SpaceX. Thanks for asking first.
But back to the bigger topic. So
Oh no, that was the biggest topic, DJ. There was no other bigger topic than that.
Not at
come
all.
on. Psh, everyone cares about this. No, yeah, we got even bigger news. So after we had the abort and the hold, they established that they could do another launch that day.
Which you didn't get to watch live.
I know. I'm so sad. So why don't you do the shot-by-shot, play-by-play, because you were, and then I'll tell you exactly how I got the news of everything.
All right, so to put it into perspective for me watching it, I woke up at 7 that morning, and I had started watching as soon as the streams went live from Tim and the others.
Oh, no. Oh,
I
wow.
watched it the entire day. I had errands to run, and I was still watching it the entire day. I was sitting in a Starbucks whenever it was supposed to launch, and then that dreaded .1 got stopped. So, of course, I went on with my day, continuing to listen. I'm in my car at a supercharger, waiting, and it's about T-minus, or what we assume is around 20 minutes. I continue on with my day, and then I'm in my car. Then I hear a little notification. SpaceX is going live again. Boy, it's getting real. So I'm literally driving in traffic while the SpaceX stream is on my hanging over my screen in my car, and unfortunately I couldn't trust my car to drive itself and just watch it in this traffic, because
I was gonna say, too bad you don't have the full self-driving beta that you can
hopefully
abuse.
soon. Hopefully,
definitely not something people abuse ever.
but I'm sitting in my car in traffic watching a SpaceX launch. I'm just sitting there. Okay. Oh, great. It made it off the pad. Awesome. Okay, now I can focus on driving for a few minutes until it hovers up there and starts doing the fall. It does the fall. I'm sitting there telling my fiance, watch this. It's about to try to land. And I see it do it. And then
you
it
get
goes,
hit by an 18-wheeler.
oh, no, not that.
Okay.
So it lights up the engines. It lights up all three, which, of course, was a tweet that somebody sent out, like, why don't you just do this? They did it. And then, of course, it goes down to 2 engines, and then right after that, it goes down to 1 engine again. And it goes in, and it still looks like it's a little too far over, but just at the last second, it was able to land. It's the landing tower Starship, because, of course, 3 landing legs did not completely swing out and deploy correctly. But it was there. We had a successful landing. I was extremely happy and giddy because, of course, I'm just too much of a space geek and I get happy about these things.
Space geek? Never.
Not at all, no. But, of course, that's all that happened, right, though?
Oh, yeah. I really wish that was the end of the entire broadcast. And actually, it was the end of the broadcast for SpaceX. So,
but, of course... It was a little eager to go for another hop.
They did have to. I should say they did have to use the fire deluge system.
Yeah,
so
yeah, they did.
It wasn't
they
like
did
it was
start
completely nominal.
Yeah, it of course kind of landed on its skirt. So, from the time that it was coming down, after it shut down its engines, it was still flaming. It was still going and going and going. Even after it landed, it was still flaming out. In the fire deluge system, which literally only looks like one of those robotic fire hoses. I thought they would have more than just one, but
it's like if your neighbor turned on a sprinkler and you're trying to get your driveway wet.
oh man. But so it sat there for about 8 minutes, and then it decided to go for rapid unscheduled hop disassembly. RUHD.
It's the best way to do it. It's the only Starship to have flown twice.
Yes. Wait.
So.
Yes. I had to think for a second if any of the
Starhopper flew twice though, right?
Well, it did the tethered hop, and then it did the just straight up hop for like 10 meters, and then it came down, and then it did the translation.
Yeah, so it's done 3. All right.
So,
well,
3.
That's not technically a serial numbered Starship. So
correct. There we go.
Yeah.
It doesn't count. Love you,
Sounds like you actually got to watch the drama unfold. I was at a social event, so I was unable to attend the meeting live. But of course, I have some good friends in the space community, and Mike, who's on the movie reviews show, and Drew and I were texting, and Mike said 0 out of 10, no explosion. And I was like, yes, it made it. Woo! Yay! In my heart, I was so happy because I just saw the notification come through. 0 out of 10, no explosion. And I was on cloud 9. And then about 10 minutes later, Mike said, 10 out of 10, explosion. Then I was like, no, what happened?
Oh.
No. So then, as soon as I got done with the social event, I found the SpaceX stream, thinking that would show all the footage. And I watched the entire thing. And I was like, I hadn't gotten on Twitter at that point. And I was like, what does he mean 10 out of 10 explosion? Good job, SpaceX. Then I opened Twitter. And the first tweet in my timeline was Tim's slow motion 4K footage of the boom. And I was just like,
oh, and they were about to start shutting down cams and start pulling footage too. So they got real lucky. Because he literally said, all right, let's start pulling footage. Kaboom.
Kaboom is right. Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
very, very lucky on Tim's part, and also very geez. So sorry, SpaceX, you got another crumpled serial numbered 10 out there, but
let's be real though, it was just a big red button that Elon said, you know what, it's already gonna be trashed anyways.
Yeah. So let's dig a little bit deeper into actually what happened here, because there's been a lot of armchair astronauts saying exactly what they saw, noticed fall apart. Obviously, Scott Manley did his usual video going frame by frame of everything, which is completely amazing. Best what we can tell as far as sourced from other people who are smarter than me, mostly Scott Manley. SN10 was landing about 15 miles an hour, which we don't really know what the landing legs, the current version of the landing legs, are designed to receive or absorb that kind of impact.
Nowhere near that, that's for sure.
It could have been nominal. Like it could have been nominal because only 3 of the 6 landing legs properly deployed, and so that means that if it was designed to land at 15 miles an hour, which it looked a little quick to be honest. If it was supposed to land at 50 miles an hour, they only had half the absorption material that they were planning on it. So you can see in all the live streams and recordings of it, it does hop a little. So it lands at about 15 miles an hour, and the whole thing jumps just like for a couple frames, probably like many feet, because scale is totally off. But it looks like just a little hop after it lands. It kind of just jumps a little, which is problem number 1. And that's definitely not good, and that's not how the Starship is designed to land, right? Like it's pretty fragile. These tanks are very thin. The welds are good but not wonderful, and there's still a lot of pressure in these tanks at landing. Even though they have to switch to the landing tanks, there's still tons of pressure in the main tanks, and there's still tons of pressure in the whole system.
Because they have to backfill the pressure with helium. So
yeah, exactly. So there's plenty of pressure in this Starship, and so anything, just like with a soda can, if you kind of knock it too hard, it can pop. It's exactly what happened. But it looks like there was also some kind of a methane leak because there was that fire that was going on after the engine stop. So it looks
And
like
yeah, and like Scott said, it probably was. It looked to be one of the filling ports that they had that just maybe had gotten a valve stuck or something like that.
yeah.
So,
But either way, it was definitely leaking methane in the wrong place that was causing
yeah.
this huge flame.
And this
Which
flame was
doesn't
literally
help
the size of
anything.
like a 6-story building or something like that.
Probably. And it's so funny that we lose that scale and context. But yeah, so we have this huge flame going. And any of you know, when something gets hot, it expands. So you already have high pressure tanks and you have hot flames heating that up a little bit more. It's probably not a good idea. So then my guess is that there's the heating that caused the pop because there was just pressure building and building and building inside of these compromised seams from the hard landing. And yeah, eventually the bottom popped, which caused the midsection to pop almost in unison, which sent the entire top part of the Starship up. And in a big fireball, it landed just like SN8 and SN9 on its side. And it was like, we were so close to greatness.
So close,
Oh,
yet
well.
so far. No, but since I know you watched Scott's video, the
What? Me? Scott's Manley fan? Never.
Never.
I'm not a Scott Manley fan at all.
But in the video, he of course does it frame by frame and goes frame right before the splits and then a couple frames afterwards. And you could see as soon as it opens up, the entire top half just crumples upwards. And
Yes.
it's a cool shot to see it in slow-mo like that. Or, well, frame by frame like that. Because, of course, as soon as it went off, it went off.
Yeah. And
But-
it's just funny how we lose that perspective on these rockets, like just how huge they are. That these wrinkles are like the size of humans, like probably 6 foot tall wrinkles in this very durable stainless steel, which is super heavy.
Yeah.
And super heavy.
But
Boom, psh, we don't get paid for jokes around here, only for quality content. Neither of which we provide. So this all begs the question: is SpaceX going to be taking another look at their landing leg system? Because at this
we know
point,
this is a
it
stopgap
caused a
right
loss
now.
of vehicle. Yeah,
This is one of the. I mean, they already have. I believe it's on SN15. They've got the different type of landing legs at the moment. But it was like, why try to put it? This literally just a stopgap because why waste the R&D money on a different type of legs that'll help support these rockets whenever they've already been doing R&D on some more durable legs for SN15, which has a lot of small changes compared to all the other SNs so far. So they knew it was a possible risk that these legs weren't going to work very well. So
I would just have to say though that right now it seems like Raptor production is the big bottleneck of Starship development. And so any Raptor that they can reuse is like going to expand that program so much. Like if they were able to reuse these 3 Raptors, obviously they'd have to probably go back to Texas for refurbishment and engineering to like see what happens to a Raptor, because we haven't really seen a Raptor up close and personal after a flight in flight worthy condition. So anyway, I think one of their main goals should be preserving the Raptors at the end of these tests going forward. Now that they've proven that they can do all parts of the mission, the belly flop maneuver, the landing burn, all that fun stuff, they can do it. I think from now on, especially with SN11, their goal needs to be getting Raptors reused quickly on these test bed vehicles. Because once that happens, we've seen how fast they can swap out Raptors. I wouldn't be surprised once they start nailing these maneuvers and getting a little more confident and increasing production speeds. I could see them going around with maybe a dozen Raptors and swapping them all out between different test vehicles. To just even test the Raptors and see how many times they can be reignited and all these fun tests and get data on it. So and even just from an engineering perspective, being able to look at a piece of material before it gets destroyed and like identify like little micro cracks or like where a part failed, it's a lot easier to do that when it's in one piece kind of instead of in a melted glob on a piece of concrete after a huge explosion. So I'm kind of surprised they haven't redesigned landing legs for SN11, because even if SN11 does just as well as SN10 and maybe all its landing legs work, I don't know. Those landing legs look super janky. Just watching them fall out of the skirt at the very end.
Literally just like bounces back and forth.
Yeah, it's like boing, and a few of them lock, and some other ones are just flapping around in the breeze, and you're just like, really, SpaceX?
See, originally I thought they were hydraulically let out to begin with. I didn't realize it's literally just like, all right, fling. So
totally,
but
crazy.
We'll see what happens with them again on SN11. Maybe they did a little bit of changing on it after they saw what happened. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they just added some really large rubber bands to the outside and kind of just when it lets go, it just slings into place. And I don't know.
That would be better than just trying this again, because what happened last time didn't work well. I would not recommend they do that. But you mentioned SN11.
Oh, yes.
We have some really exciting news with SN11. Evidently, it's on its way to do its first testing.
Yep.
Wow.
As of about 7 hours ago, recording on a Monday night, it is already on the next test stand. And with 3 Raptors.
Wow.
So we should not have to wait
for the
forever.
pressurization tests with Raptors installed?
Seems like it, yeah. So it's already sitting on there with Raptors bolted on.
Well, that's exciting. I was thinking we'd be lucky to see it within the next 2 weeks, but I didn't know we already had Raptors installed, so maybe that's more certain than I thought. That's pretty cool. Bravo to Elon. It's always fun to watch those down in Boca Chica be able to see these starships roll down the road. It's like, wow, those things are huge.
I was trying to find a picture of here it is. The one of the new Raptors that actually just came in, Raptor SN58. Apparently, McGregor and Boca Chica, or McGregor and all the space photographers are kind of having a fun laugh because one of the Raptors says, "Much land, where box?"
Yes. What does that all mean? I'm so confused. Obviously, these people in Texas are messing around.
I'm not really sure. I mean, I assume it means like, where's the box where I'm supposed to land? And of course, it's Doge, so much land.
Ew, that makes sense.
But
yeah, I love SpaceX. Like, what aerospace company would put on a multi-million-dollar, highly advanced rocket engine? Just some meme, basically. so much fun. That the culture there is so young and vivacious. It's amazing. Yeah.
But
so, did you see the news? Sorry. This is a solemn Talos of Space report. I don't have a black tie to switch to, but we've just received news that Elon Musk has passed away. Seeing how on Twitter, the trending tag "Rip Elon" has been trending for hours. I hate that so much. Dang it! Everybody got my heart a pumping so bad.
Oh,
Jeez.
God, it was. I got scared for a second when I started seeing that, but of course, before it gets taken out of context, Elon is not dead.
He is alive. Elon lives. Viva Elon! Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that was probably the scariest trend I've seen on Twitter in a long time. It just reminded me how like fragile life is, and like how Elon could just die in a car accident like other people, or catch the Rona or something. It's just like, Elon must live. He must live. There's no way around this. Yeah. So for some dumb reason, the Rip Elon hashtag was trending on Twitter, and it seems like he was kind of near a facility that just blew, like a battery pack or something at Tesla blew up, and like he had just recently been there within the past couple hours, so like he could have died, but thankfully he didn't. Thankfully no one else was injured in that explosion, if I read that article correctly. But like in the battery cycling, like when they first charge up battery packs before they put them in the cars and on the Tesla side of things, one of those battery packs blew up and caused quite a bit of damage. And so anyway, Elon was like in the vicinity, and so somehow that trended because
it went real fast.
The internet is the internet, and gave me a heart attack.
Well, it was like a fake Tesla PR team document that was posted to Twitter, even though Tesla doesn't even have a PR team anymore.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's what I saw was the fake PR announcement. But
interesting.
yeah,
maybe more fake news surrounds this story than we originally anticipated.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. Like it's people. Some people are thinking it's market manipulation because it's coincides with one of the large dips in Tesla stock as well. So
obviously,
but
I mean, that's what's happening.
Yep.
But thankfully, he's alive. He's alive, everyone.
He's
Elon's
alive
not
and
dead.
well, and trying to form his own town.
What?
Yes.
Elonville? I want to move there.
See, I would love to move there, especially if it was called Elonville. But I think he wants to be on Mars.
Elonaville.
Yeah. I think he really wants to be on Mars faster than anybody thinks. Because he wants to name the town Starbase. So,
really?
It looks like he's wanting to rename Boca Chica, being that he basically owns Boca Chica, pretty much.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's where was that little thing I had? Oh well, but it's already got kind of publicized because a SpaceX representative went to a judge in Cameron County to inquire on what it would take to incorporate a new town. Because, well, I mean, if he owns most of the town already, and it's mainly just SpaceX residents, it kind of dawns back to the a time of corporate towns, literally towns owned by these corporations where people work at these places Disney, and Florida. Live here. So yeah, I mean, one of the first things I thought of was Disney whenever I first saw this, because I mean, they own a whole town's worth of land in Disney, like multiple towns
Disney,
worth of
Florida.
Land. Yep, that's the capital of Florida.
I think Disney, Florida has its own county, which includes a city inside of it.
Yeah, but
it's kind of crazy. But hey, I'm all for SpaceX doing that because, to be completely honest, nothing against local governments or whatever, but like they're just not set up to move as fast as SpaceX needs them to. It is a lot of responsibility to have your own town. You know, you got to provide fire, policing services, some kind of medical services. You know, it's a lot of responsibility, water, electricity, all that fun stuff. But thankfully, I believe Starbase Texas won't have very many residents, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal as far as the logistics are concerned. But it would be able to provide SpaceX the ability to have more control over the land and be able to, keep people out a little bit better during times of testing, or kind of control access in a way, because that's really why Disney wanted to have their own town. They wanted that control. They wanted to be able to set sight lines and zone stuff differently and all that. And having the town be the same entity of you, it speeds up the whole process, right? There's no red tape there's very little red tape. There's still some red tape, but there's very little red tape, and it can be very efficient.
But it also leads to the fact that if they basically own the town or incorporate the town and kind of keep everything within SpaceX, I mean, it's still going to be a Texas city, and it's not literally going to be
and it's still
owned by Elon, and it's under Cameron County. But they can also easily put up tourist type destinations or hotels and stuff like that around the area. I mean, this literally just like a strip of land, which Boca Chica is. So it's not like it's massive, but especially when it comes time for more tourist type things going out through Boca Chica, a hotel right there really close and a couple bars and restaurants might not be a bad idea. Maybe a nice little brick and mortar SpaceX shop, gift shop or something like that would be cool too. So
very beautiful.
Take you home a piece of an old Starship.
Hey, you can sell those in the gift shop on your way out. Oh my. So yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, I'd love to visit Starbase Texas at some point. That's just a cool name. But you also do have to weigh into consideration people who have lived in Boca Chica for their entire lives.
Well, there's not that many left in there.
There aren't many left, but I think there's maybe 5 or 6 holdouts still in Boca Village, and so as excited as I am about space, and I want to see this go forward as fast as possible, I also do want to respect those who actually live there, and I'm a guy on the internet, has nothing to do with me basically, so those people who are being actually impacted by these changes, definitely I want your voices to be heard, but yeah, it sounds exciting. Very, very fun to have an entire starbase. So we talk about starbases, and that's kind of up in the stars. Why don't we talk about something a little more down to earth? Say, I don't know, fireflies.
Yeah, I would say that is pretty down to earth, but I don't think you're actually talking about normal fireflies, correct?
I was talking about the alpha version of fireflies.
Oh, yeah. So if, like us, you don't know that much about Firefly Alpha, it is another small sat launch company.
Another one?
Wow. Yes. Yes. Although they actually have more payload capacity than the Electron for their Firefly Alpha, or Firefly Aerospace's Firefly Alpha launch vehicle. So they have a test flight coming up on what day did it say it was?
Tomorrow.
4 days,
a couple days,
5 days, yeah, basically
within the week.
So, that is launching out of Vandenberg, and it's going to be the vehicle itself is about it's like I said, it's got about 1,000-kilogram LEO payload, or 630-kilogram sun synchronous orbit. So it's pretty good for a small sat. I mean, that's nearly triple of an Electron, I want to say, somewhere around that. Something like that. But it is a LOX RP1 rockets, turbo pumps, all that cool jazz. Just like basically every other rocket that's mainstream right now is using LOX and RP1. So.
Well, hey, that's exciting. I'm excited to see another small sat launcher get into the market. Do you have to wonder, though, at some point it's going to become pretty saturated, right? Like, how many universities actually need to send up CubeSats? What do those CubeSats even do? That's a better question. Do you know what they do?
From what I understand, it's like technical high schools and colleges that have like GIS programs or something like that. It basically seems like either weather sats or small weather sats or GIS sats. And if you don't know what a GIS sat is, it's basically either it's like an imaging satellite for different things like NOAA or agricultural uses, just surveying uses in general. So, but that's mainly what I've seen for these small CubeSats. And then I can't think of the name of the company that was trying to put up one like that was made by Canon as well for the imagery that Electron was trying to put up that it failed on. That one failed. But that company has a lot of these small image satellites up there right now as well. So that's basically what those small sats are used for.
I guess, but when you say universities or whatever, it's like, I mean, I guess it would be really exciting to work on a satellite that's going to go to space, but like, what's the actual practical use of that? Yeah. I don't know. Like, what can a small sat do besides imagery that a larger satellite hasn't already done multiple times?
Yeah.
Like, if you're talking about
a lot of the things about these small sats
or something,
a lot of these small sat ideas are to literally just get a lot of them out there, because if you get a lot of small sats out there, you can take imagery data every day, or weather reading data, infrared data, whatever you want to use. I mean, if they get enough of them out there, they can take these images or data every day, and it's a consistent feed of updated data. So that's what I really think small sats are about. So
I guess that makes sense. So hopefully it doesn't get too saturated, but Electron, Virgin Orbit, and Firefly, and at Astra, they're all competing in this market, and you gotta, and SpaceX Sorry, yeah. Don't forget about SpaceX, the largest provider of small sats at the moment, just because they've done a couple Red Star missions with record-breaking numbers of satellites. Yeah. Well, hey, you mentioned Vandenberg. Firefly Alpha is going to be launching from Vandenberg, but I have a deep-rooted connection to Vandenberg. Vandenberg is no longer going to be known as Vandenberg Air Force Base. It is now going to be known as Vandenberg Space Force Base. So, congratulations, Vandenberg. You've been upped to something way cooler. Get on your shades. Let's start this Space Force revolution.
Now, is Wallops considered is it Wallops Air Force Base? Are they going to get the same type of treatment, or is it just literally Wallops like launch site or something like that?
Let's see what Google says.
So I didn't think about that until you just said it. It's Wallops Flight Facility.
Wallops. Let's see what NASA.gov says. It's loading a web page. Hold, please. Loading a web page. Wallops Flight Facility is what I'm seeing here. I think that's what you were looking at a second ago.
Well, okay. It doesn't look like it's going to get the Space Force treatment.
Yeah, well, hopefully it does. I think everything should be Space Force because it just sounds way cooler.
Because, of course, Space Force is the most useful Army branch there is, or military branch there is. Of course it is.
I mean, I love Space Command. That just sounds so cool and futuristic. And, like, anything that we can turn from Air Force Station to Space Force Station. I love you, Air Force. I have really good friends who are in the Air Force. But Space Force is cooler. Sorry. I said it there. You can all hate me. And all you Marines who think that you're all that and the Air Force people don't have to do anything, well, guess what? Now the Air Force people can also have someone to say that actually doesn't do anything because those Space Force people literally don't. Just type at computers. Yeah. No. Every service member is highly valued by me. And
And of course, the military is a big bunch of brothers, basically, or cousins, if you want to look at it.
Yeah.
We can't openly make fun of them like they can. They joke around for fun. And of course, when we kind of mess around like that, we are too. But we, of course, don't have the right to do it like they do, because they're literally family in that. So, of course, all their joking around is just joking around. So,
yeah. Well, I had to make that dig because I've heard my dad my dad was a Marine for a while, and Randy and all them. I've just heard that argument so many times that the Air Force people don't do anything, and then Randy's wife Brittany goes to the Air Force. And
I heard the Chair Force stuff a lot too, because my dad was in the Air Reserves, Air Guard. So
nice.
He got to work on he worked on I think it was the C-17s.
Ooh, yeah, that's cool.
Oh well, what's funny is our in Jackson, Mississippi, our airport shares 2 runways with our Air Guard base. So nice. our airport is so small that it just literally, it's like you've got the airport right here, you got runway, and then Air Guard base. So, I mean, you could literally be in one of the terminals, just look out and see like 4 C-17s.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
I love aerospace about as much as I love space flight, which is saying quite a bit. So, you want to hear the saddest news of the entire week? I mean, Elon dying would have been the saddest news, but thankfully that was just fake news. Unfortunately, this is not fake news. This is probably the saddest picture I've ever seen. It's a picture of Pac-Man in a forest. Well, not quite. It is my beloved Arecibo Observatory being deconstructed and demoed. Demoed. Hey, there you go. Words. I goo words good. I'm so good at the words.
English. I do it.
Man. I do it so good. Man, you sent me that picture and I knew exactly what it was as soon as I saw a little notification roll in. I was just like, no! Because we obviously, if you haven't heard about Arecibo was the largest telescope in the world. It was an X-ray telescope.
A radar telescope.
500 meters?
It was a radar telescope.
Meters?
Radar. 500 meters.
Yeah. So huge telescope, basically built into like the valley between 3 mountains, and it absolutely enormous telescope in Puerto Rico, I believe. And they had a slight incident. It's been, in decline. It had its heyday probably back in the 90s or 80s or something, and it's kind of, had budget problems, and it's a huge facility. It requires a lot of money to upkeep. I believe they were trying to do deconstruction on it like in the early 2010s, but a university stepped in and wanted to help it keep going. So I don't remember which university it was, but it was kind of a university with government combination to keep the facility going. But that the budget wasn't as much as it was supposed to be, so their maintenance didn't happen quite as it should have been, and they had a catastrophic failure of some of the support cables and like 80 tons worth of like scientific equipment and cabling and rigging fell.
When they said 80 tons, I mean, we talk about the fact that rockets are deceiving whenever you're looking at a stream of it. Look at that picture and zoom in to the kind of like upper left. You can literally just barely see a truck in that picture. And then compare it to how large it is. It's like 80 tons. That thing looked like maybe a few thousand pounds hanging up there. And then it's 80 tons. Just imagine the crater that thing actually left.
Including the cabling and the rigging and stuff.
Yeah, but still. But like, imagine the crater that the thing actually left in the ground after it went through the dish. That thing was heavy.
Pretty big. So there was a lot of debate, probably 4 months ago at this point, 3 or 4 months ago, of whether or not to fix Arecibo or kill it off. And the decision was made to kill it, unfortunately. And a little part of me died. Wrote a whole term paper about Arecibo. I know. So sad.
Rip.
So it's sad to see they've already dismantled about a quarter of it already. And the dismantling is only going to continue.
Yep.
So thank you, Arecibo, for all of your contributions to the scientific knowledge, and gone but not forgotten.
Yep.
I'm going to be okay.
But
you know it's also going to be gone but not forgotten soon?
What is that?
Falcon Heavy.
Oh, wow.
Falcon Heavy was definitely the coolest rocket of the 2010s, because it was literally 3 of the coolest rockets combined to make the coolest rocket in the world. Falcon Heavy obviously has only launched a few times. We had the test launch in 2018. I don't think you can
call it a few, because it's only launched twice, right?
Twice, yeah. So that's kind of sad in and of itself. But the fact that this rocket ever existed is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The purpose of it is to be able to provide launch capabilities of either heavier payloads to low Earth orbit or payloads of regular Falcon 9 size to higher, more elliptical orbits. I believe it can provide 22,000 kilograms of payload to geostationary orbit. I think like 16,000 to the moon, a lunar transfer orbit, and so much to Mars. Anyway, I don't have those numbers in front of me. But the point of that rocket was to be more powerful and yet reusable using kind of proven technology. It's kind of a step between Falcon 9 and Starship. Starship's the goal is to provide really cheap reusability for heavy, huge payloads that are bulky. And Falcon 9 only had so much payload capacity and a set fairing size. So Falcon 9... obviously was paired together with 3 other Falcon 9s to create the Falcon Heavy, and that ship has flown a few times, 2 times, and we do have 3 other times for sure on the radar, which is really exciting just for this year. So hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully this year we will see Falcon Heavy fly 3 more times, and then after that, I personally believe we will not see it fly again. That breaks
sad.
My heart to pieces.
I am planning on going to try to go down and see one of these Falcon Heavy launches, because I want to see the dual boosters come back and land at the same time. I just really want to see that happen. So I am going to make it in one of those trips.
Yeah, 2 things that I really want to see in person before we can't anymore. I want to see the very first BN fly with all of its how many 30-something Raptors. I want to see that fly the first time. And I also want to see a Falcon Heavy before they retire them landing. Because you're right, the dual Falcon 9 landing is about the coolest thing we've seen yet out of SpaceX. 2 very tall buildings landing, basically. So we do have 3 more opportunities to see that. One is in May with Viasat 3. And that is a commercial communication satellite going up to geosynchronous orbit. And that'll be happening sometime in May. Obviously, these launch dates are not super nailed down, but at least they have like months attached to them so that, we can kind of have an idea of when they'll be ready. And then the other 2 launches are for the U.S. government. We have USSF 44 launching in July. Obviously, a classified payload, probably a spy satellite, but we don't know. And then we have USSF 52, which will be launching in October, also likely a spy satellite. But all 3 of those should be having a return to launch site for the 2 boosters, and then the core will land in a drone ship, hopefully. So kind of an end of an era almost, because the reason why this Falcon Heavy exists is about to become obsolete as soon as Starship and BFR get off the ground, literally and figuratively. The cost for a Falcon Heavy launch is estimated around $90 million, whereas the estimated cost for Starship after, they reuse it a couple times is likely in the millions to tens of millions range. So almost nothing compared to the Falcon Heavy. And with a Starship, you can carry, I believe it was 50 to 54 times the volume and like 13 times the payload mass.
It's
It's
massive.
like, yeah, you can.
I think it's like
just
counting
anything.
Starlink wise, it's like 600 Starlink sats versus 60.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
but
totally insane.
it'll be good to see
But-
Falcon Heavy. I just hope that we have a few more launches than this. So
I was looking, and it looks like there might be a possibility that it could win a contract for I believe it's one of the Comet missions in mid 2022, but NASA hasn't awarded that one yet. But it's looking like Falcon Heavy will likely be the candidate there because they're the cheapest option.
Speaking of NASA and Falcon Heavy,
that can get that mass.
Am I remembering wrong? Because SpaceX has the I can't remember if they awarded it or this was just an RFP that they got selected to continue on through. But the launches to the Lunar Gateway that they're planning.
Yes.
I know they're launching 2 sections at once. Was that on the Falcon Heavy or was that on just a Falcon 9? Because I would think it would have to be a Falcon Heavy.
I don't actually know. I know that the Dragon XL variants were supposed to use a Falcon Heavy. However, I really cannot see these contracts being actually executed upon if Starship development keeps at the pace it is. And I know that's a huge if, right? Like,
Yeah.
Being completely realistic, there's probably like a 40% chance that Starship gets off schedule within the next year.
Here we go. Wait, here we go.
Enough
I got something right here.
delay these.
NASA awarded a contract to SpaceX on February 9th for the launch of the first 2 elements of its Lunar Gateway on a Falcon Heavy in 2024. So I did remember right. That was a...
Okay, good job. DJ, you
Almost
won
a
a
month
prize for memory.
Hey, yeah.
So, you're smart. Yeah, so I guess Falcon Heavy's not completely gone, but not forgotten. But if we get to 2024 and literally Starship is flying for millions to tens of millions of dollars per launch, it makes zero sense for NASA to continue their Falcon Heavy contract.
But then again, they're also designing these elements of the Lunar Gateway to be launched by certain vehicles. I mean, that's why it's awarded right now, and it's in 2024 that they're planning on launching this. So, especially since we've seen renders of how Starship will actually have its payload bay, but we don't know details of how exactly that'll work yet. So
true, and that's why government contracts play it safe. But it still, as a consumer, doesn't make any sense. It's like, I will be the guy who sticks all my eggs in the Starship basket because Starship is amazing and everything else sucks. Eat it. Eat it. Eat it, ULA. Eat it, Delta 4. Eat it, Ontaries. You guys are nothing on Starship. Any closing thoughts, DJ? I know we covered quite a bit of ground here, and we were just
2 more things that I missed.
So really,
one thing, go back to Starlink really quick, is we have evidence of an FCC filing, and Elon has confirmed that they're going to be doing a mobile Starlink of sorts. Now, this isn't like connecting your Tesla on a drive to get you better internet while you're watching YouTube going down the interstate. This is more
What?
for
Never
like
do that.
never. But this is more for like big rigs, 18-wheelers, or campers or container ships and stuff like that. So it's going to be a version that's actually made to be mobile and continue to track the satellites overhead while it's moving. So that is one quick thing about Starlink. And then
honestly, that's for me personally, that's really exciting news, because right now they've had to geofence the capabilities of Starlink terminals really for beta testing purposes. They want to collect good data, so they don't want them moving all over the place.
Well, I don't even really think the geofence is real though. I think it is mainly like if you go outside.
At some point.
I think if you go outside of, like once the signal reaches a certain dBu level, a decibel level of the antenna strength or the receiving strength, I think at that point it just shuts off. But I don't really think there's like an actual like geofence area. I think it's just once you get out of the actual
At the very
coverage.
beginning there was. Like the very first people who had betas couldn't take it off. But it definitely could have changed in the past month.
Because I know there's 2 videos that I've watched of people taking it fairly far away. One was, I cannot remember the guy's name, but he literally took like a Linux server running pfSense out into the woods, literally no cell phone service in the mountains. It was like 15 miles from Crowfly, or as the crow fly, from his house, and it was still working. And then Zach and Jesse from Now You Know also just did one. They were like, I think 20 miles away from their house as well. But of course they went north. And of course, if they already have Starlink, then they go north. I mean, they're going to still have Starlink coverage basically. Yeah. But it's whenever you go south that you'll start losing coverage. And then I guess
that makes sense.
Another thing with SN11 that I forgot to mention while we were talking about that. So I saw a tweet earlier, Elon kind of confirming that the whenever it came in for landing, they didn't have enough thrust.
Oh,
so
okay.
It
so it wasn't supposed to land at 15 miles
yeah,
an hour.
It wasn't supposed to land at 15 miles an hour. So what he says in this next time they're gonna do is land with 2 engines, and then if one fails or does not produce enough thrust, they'll either, if it's already failed, they'll light up the 3rd engine again, or if it's not producing enough, they'll light up the other one and drop that engine that's not working properly. So that's going to be another new change to the launch and landing of SN11, looks like. So wow, I'm on the edge of my seat, proverbially and literally. This is exciting times to be alive, exciting times to be a space fan. Yep. Any closing thoughts, DJ, after the closing thoughts that we just made? I think we're good.
All right. Thanks so much for joining. We'll see you in the next one. See you in the stars. God bless.